So earlier this year, in March of 2025, Aaron Goodwin from the show Ghost Adventures had this notification from the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. Turns out his wife was being arrested, and the reason was conspiring to hire a hitman to kill him. Now, I know we don't normally talk about this type of content, at least in this podcast, but it's making such a huge splash in the paranormal space that we just have to talk about it. You ready? My name is Edwin, and this is Paranormal Club. So for some background for some of us who are not familiar with Ghost Adventures and what this is, right? I remember this show from way back in the day, and I'm saying like since I was in high school. This was one of the shows to watch, and I remember it started with a documentary. It was only a documentary that was released. It was a hit, and then it became a show on the Travel Channel. Such a just an awesome, history into how it started. But it was made up of 3 crew members that I remember clearly, right? We have Aaron Goodwin, we have Nick Groff, and Zach Bagans, which turned out to be, the leader of the group. People either love or hate Zach, because he exaggerates a lot of the things that, happen. But again, he might just be super sensitive to the paranormal and to entities and stuff. And he might be sensitive to getting scratched all the time or getting his energy drained. But one of the most likable characters or member of the crew from the paranormal, from Ghost Adventures, turns out to be Aaron Goodwin. And the reason why I think the younger crowd can relate to this is if you think about like BuzzFeed Unsolved and you think of Shane and Ryan, he would be like the Ryan, kind of. Actually, hold on. They're both likable. Maybe Shane? Dang it. No, that's a tough one. That's a bad example. Because he was like, okay, so you have Zach Bagans, who's like the series, like the leader guy, right? He's like the one that is saying, you're going to go into this room, now I'm going to go into this room, and we're going to try this. And he's the one that does the narration. Like, as we were entering the room, we spotted an anomaly in the camera, right? He's like that guy, the main guy. You have Nick Groff, who was he was kind of like the serious guy. He was like just serious, that you could feel a little bit distant, like a little bit cold, but still an important part of the crew. And you had Aaron. Aaron was like the one that was sent into like the scariest room, and he would just be like, dude, I do not want to do that. Dude, oh my God, I just heard this sound. And he would like genuinely, like authentically feel all these things. You could trust them. Like you might think, yeah, sure, Ghost Adventures makes up their content. It's not real. It's all made up. It's all fake. But Aaron's reactions just made you think twice. Like, hey, maybe this stuff is real. Like, because that's how I would react, right? In a situation like that. Like Aaron, just freaking out over something that, that you see. So he was the most likable of them. And he was more down to earth. He was just more like, oh, you're in this super haunted location. And he would just be like, all right, guys, like calm down. Things are getting, by the way, eventually Nick and Zach had a falling out and they kind of went against each other. Like they it's a whole drama thing that we can get into later, but he was the reason why I still stuck around watching. I actually haven't watched the recent seasons, but the reason why I still even keep up with the news is just to kind of, you really only watch the clips from Aaron, right? Because you kind of know what Zach is going to be up to, but Aaron's more like the normal guy in this. So he's the most likable character in the whole series, not even a series, right? The whole reality show that is Ghost Adventures. So the story here where it starts getting into the whole topic of, what happened with his wife is it came as a shock. Obviously, because first off, it happened to Aaron, right? Not that it should happen to anyone else, but like it happened to him. And then the life that was being painted, like the life that we saw, at least on Instagram, between him and his wife was like a fairy tale, right? You spotted pictures of him proposing in front of a castle, Disneyland or Disney World. He got married at the Haunted Mansion, right? This awesome picture of a flowy dress in the Haunted Mansion. So like it was like a fairy tale kind of thing. They wrote each other stuff online, right? As in There was a post that actually might still be up from Valentine's Day. It just says "Te amo" on it, like I love you. It says that, and they're out playing mini golf, like all these things that you see, and it's recent, right? Who would have thought that just a month after that, all this stuff was going to go down, and that his wife would come forth and admit that she was conspiring to hire someone to kill him. The whole thing is just, it seems surreal, that this is happening, especially now when you view his account, like his testimony, like his victim statement. It's heartbreaking just to see the whole thing. Turns out that on March 6th of 2025, the correctional facility in Florida, like one of them from one of the jails there, contacted the Clark County Police Department, like the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. And they said, hey, you know what? We confiscated this phone from an inmate that was, you're not supposed to have phones there. And during one of the checks, they found that they had been, this inmate, Grant, his name's Grant, had been communicating with somebody named Victoria Candy, which turned out to be Victoria Goodwin from, Aaron's wife. They're conspiring to have him killed, to have Aaron killed. The whole thing was bizarre because this inmate that she had been talking to was Grant Amato, the subject of this terrifying, I guess, documentary called Ctrl+Alt+Desire, about a man who became obsessed with a cam girl, stole money from his family. His family got angry, obviously, for the whole situation. And eventually he murdered all of them. He murdered the mother, the father, and the brother. Now, that's the story of the documentary. And that's who she was messaging. So how did this all get started, right? This is pretty insane if you think about it, because the whole background of Grant Amato and everything that went on, it was a story of digital delusion, right? Obsession with somebody online. And then Victoria has that same thing, right? Getting obsessed with Grant, thinking that they're going to have a future together. So I know that there's just a lot of stuff that I just threw on you, right? So we're going to take it step by step here, and I'm just going to tell you the story so you understand kind of the general idea of who this Grant guy was and what does he have to do with all this. Here's what happened. He was born, I think, in 1989, and he was a nurse in Florida, and he got fired because he was mishandling medication. Basically, he was taking meds when he was not. He was taking like antidepressants, I believe. He wasn't supposed to, so he was taking them for himself. So he had issues, and he got fired. He got let go, right? So now he's unemployed. He doesn't know where he's gonna go, directionless, kind of lost in life. So his parents say, you know what, come stay with us. Get back on your feet, get a job. You'll be fine. Just, do that. So he's like, okay, I'll do that. And his choice is to become I believe it's a streamer of some sort. And it isn't working. Normally when you have that, when you have aspirations to do that, sure, it's cool, right? To go after something like that. It's a fun job or whatever for people who do that. But when you have no savings, you don't have a backup plan, you're kind of relying on your parents that they're going to take care of you, just hoping that this works and that this takes off, it's pretty rough. It's a tough situation to be in. So while he was exploring all of his online options, right, he starts discovering the world of cam girls. And that's where he meets this one called Sylvie from Bulgaria. And he's in love with her. He sees her videos and he's he starts chatting with her, video chat. And how those websites work is you pay tokens per minute, and you chat with them. Or I guess you don't just talk. They perform a show for you online. And he became obsessed. He's trying to impress her. He's trying to become like a real life relationship with her. So he's like, yeah, I'm rich. I have a lot of cars, have a lot of money. He sends her gifts. He sends her. How is he doing this, by the way? He has no money, right? He's maxing out his credit cards. Like this whole time, he's faking the whole thing. Eventually, the family realizes like $200,000 in the savings account is gone. He took it to start spending money to keep talking with Sylvie, the cam girl. He's straight up. He's like, obsessed is like a very small. Like he's delusional now. Like he's thinking, and I feel like a lot of us can kind of think of a situation where, or we've probably read it somewhere on Reddit, that a guy becomes obsessed with a girl and starts sending her money. He gets scammed out of thousands of dollars because he thinks that she's really in love with him, and it turns out she just wanted the money. Like that kind of scam. Well, that's not exactly what happened here, but because this is Sylvie's job, right? Her job is to perform, to have a camera on, and ask for money. Like that's her thing. So she's this whole time she's stringing him along, probably saying like, oh yeah, sure, like yeah, let's keep talking. This is awesome, thanking him, and he's thinking that he's in a relationship with her, that she's gonna end up being with him, while she's just doing her job, which is to take money online. The whole situation it's bizarre to think about, but again, this is people's reality, right? Like this is what they believe is happening, that they're gonna be together and that all this stuff is gonna work out. Obviously, to us, it seems kind of like kind of ridiculous to even think that, but they get involved. They get manipulated. They get obsessed with this kind of thing, and that's where he was. At one point, the family is angry, but they're like, you know what? Okay, look, let's do something here, and they convince him. His brother Cody is going to pay for therapy. He's going to go to therapy. He's going to get help for his pornography addiction, for his internet addiction, and everything's going to be fine. So Grant's like, all right, I'll do it. And he does it. He goes to therapy, or at least claims he went to therapy, or it was claimed that he did. And eventually he gets found out again that he's going back online. This time, because they said, hey, you know what? No more. You have to lose touch with Sylvie here. Like, no more Sylvie. Like, no more cam girls. Like, just focus here. So he's like, okay. But in secret, he took his mom's phone and keeps chatting and spending money on Sylvie. He's losing it, right? Like, he needs help. But his family's like losing money. Like, what else are you going to do with this guy? He has no job. He's not doing anything. He's just spending money, and he's obsessed with this girl that he hasn't even met. Long story short, the family gets angry. They're like, you know what? This is the last straw. You're stealing now. You need to leave. So they kick him out of the house. Grant is pissed. Like, he's angry, and he leaves. But later, that same day, he comes back. And he shoots his mom, his dad, and his brother. It's brutal. Like, it's execution style. Like, in the head. Just a terrible thing that he did. And he kind of makes it seem like he wants people to think that, oh, maybe Cody, like the brother, just maybe killed his parents and then he killed himself. And what he did next is he took cash, took a laptop, took probably cards, like credit cards, took the car and drove to a hotel, got online, and kept talking to Sylvie as if nothing had happened. Spending money. Eventually, obviously, the family starts missing work and stuff, so they get suspicious. He gets sent someone out, and then they find out that, yeah, like, they've been murdered. It's just, really rough news. So the police starts investigating what's happening, like what's going on. So they find out that, they start linking things easily with phones, right? They ping. By the way, your phone ping, like, as in they let out a signal saying where you are, kind of. And they can triangulate the area, like where you are. The cards, right? He's spending money on cards probably that aren't his. and they're showing up on bank transactions, the police are able to piece that up like that, right? Like piece it together. Also, they find out where he is. They tell him, and then when he finds out that his family's dead, he reacts like it's the first time that that he hears about it, and he's upset and he's crying and he's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe it," and all that. But the police are like, they're not dumb, right? They find out that he had an obsession and that he had been stealing money and all these problems. So he had a reason. He had been kicked out. So like they kind of know. They can kind of piece it together pretty quickly that he's responsible for the death. And they eventually do charge him. And by the way, the execution style murders here happened in 2019 in January. So he goes to trial. He does the whole thing. He gets sentenced to 3 life sentences for each person that he killed. And this documentary, Ctrl+Alt+Desire, comes out. It is already in being watched here in 2024 by Victoria Goodwin, who's watching this documentary. And for some reason, she decides to write to the inmate because she becomes obsessed with this, which this is what worries me about true crime, right? Like people do become obsessed with it. And there's a lot of glorification for murderers. I don't understand it. I don't really think I want to understand it necessarily. I mean, it might be helpful to figure it out, but like, can't you be obsessed over something else? I don't know, like those collectibles or something. I don't know, some kind of thing, something else besides murderers. I don't know. But she became obsessed and she started writing letters to try to get in touch with him, which, something that you can do. I found out about this and I got pretty scared now reading about this, that people have a thing for writing to inmates. Not that there's anything wrong with it. They're probably bored in there, right? But still, thinking about this stuff happening really made me think of, because somebody told me, somebody from my past was like, she was writing letters to inmates, and I'm like, oh, I could have died. I don't know. Just thinking about this was weird. It was weird to think about. But eventually these messages turned into text messaging, like through Facebook or some type of messaging system. And they eventually start connecting. Like Victoria Goodwin, Aaron's wife, starts connecting with this inmate. And they start kind of falling in love. Or she starts falling in love with him. I don't know if it went both ways. But how this stuff was happening was, in jail, they hide phones. Like the correction officers, like the correctional officers, they go in there and they do checks. And that's how they found that he had a phone. Grant had a phone. It was communicating with this Victoria Candy person who was referring to FH as her husband. And they were able to piece it together easily, right? Just through looking through their profile. Like, this is Victoria Goodwin. So that's when the arrest happens. That's when they contact the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, and they get in touch with this. They saved a life, basically, here, right? Aaron's life from Victoria hiring a hitman. Now, when you think about this, she probably has like little defense here, right? She's saying, oh yeah, like we talked about it, but it was like a fantasy thing. Like, because this is what her response was, that she was daydreaming, and it was like a daydream / fantasy of the whole thing, and that it wasn't that big of a deal, that she wasn't thinking about doing it. However, there's this huge detail here that was missing. Money exchanged hands here. She had moved $11,000 to a person in an intermediary. How do you say that? Intermediary. For hiring for hitman, like somebody to change the money here, so you don't directly pay the hitman because that's too straightforward. If they get caught, like you're kind of screwed, like you're done. So you send it to someone in between, right? And she has sent $11,000 to this person. A couple of the messages that were on there, obviously, like it's already like you lose all your rights here, right? They're going through your messages. They're finding out everything that you said, how you fell in love through text message and all that. She ends up saying one phrase that, I'm going to paraphrase it here, but it says, am I a bad person because I chose to end his existence and not get a divorce? Yeah, you're a bad person for that. Just get a divorce. Like, what's up with killing a person? Just divorce and start over, go somewhere else. Like, I don't know. But that's what you know, that's what got her in trouble. They found out that way. It was very straightforward. And again, all this is, it's not a mystery. Like, it's not this is a very straightforward case. This is what was happening. This is what you did. There, like, you did that, right? But she was denying it. She was saying no. Eventually, she did accept a plea deal for that, and she admitted it. She ended up apologizing for the whole thing, which, I don't know. You try to kill somebody and try to hire somebody to kill somebody, and you're just gonna, yeah, I'm so sorry, but I never did it though. It's crazy to think, because first off, this was deeply, deeply, like, troubling for Aaron, because he now had to go with like an armed guard to live his life, like to go on shoots and stuff. Plus, Victoria was actually giving away his location, like his filming schedule, his hotel stays, details on the car. Plus, some couples, they have, they're sharing their location at all times. So she would give the Find My, the location from iPhones or whatever. She was giving this location away to a person, or where he was going to be at. So, like, what hotel he's in. Like, how do you even deal with that? Right? Like, that's very disturbing. Like, he could have gotten killed. Just the whole thing. Like, they even showed a picture. Like, she sent a picture of him, of Aaron, in Barstow, like at a ghost town. Like, oh, he's there. Just to maybe to show what he's wearing or where he is exactly. So obviously, like, all the proof, all the evidence was against her in this case, and that plus the messages and the whole thing, they just, they just gave it away. So on March 6th, 2025, she was arrested at her house in Las Vegas. The phone records obviously tied her immediately to who she was, which was Victoria Candy from the messages. She admitted it, that she was talking to Grant. And again, she admitted that she was talking to him, but she also said that, yeah, it was just a fantasy. It was like a daydream, like she said. She was fantasizing of what it would be like to be a criminal and to hire a hitman to end someone's life. So she was charged with conspiracy to commit murder, conspiracy, and actually solicitation to commit murder. So her plea deal was made in April 12th, 2025. Again, this is very recent. She pled guilty to conspiracy of solicitation charge. The solicitation charge supposedly was dropped. Now, how do you defend against that? Well, they were saying her defense team said she was emotionally vulnerable. Also, she was manipulated by Grant Amato. So the jury, everyone agreed, like, okay, she gets sentenced. She gets jail time. She was sentenced to 36 to 90 months, which is about 3 to 7.5-ish years in jail. And then that's where Aaron's victim statement comes in, which is just heartbreaking just to hear that. He breaks down. He starts saying he can't, now he pretty much lost his freedom. Like, he can't be relaxed anymore because now he has to have an armed guard with him. Right? How's he gonna get close to anybody now? How can he trust somebody? Well, I mean, it's rough. It's a good thing that he's getting help, right? He's getting help. When you follow him on Instagram, you kind of tell, like, he's pushing forward, like he's moving on. He's getting everything together, which is pretty good. Now, was this sentence too lenient? I think so. I mean, you're trying to get rid of someone's life, and you gave everything, details on where he is, money, your messages, everything's against you. You were trying to kill somebody. You were trying to get somebody to kill somebody. But the jury agreed. They're like, she has no prior history. She was cooperating with us. The whole situation is it's upsetting. It's upsetting because I feel like she should have gotten more time, but who am I to say anything, right? I'm not really, I don't really know how this stuff works, but it feels like that for the potential ending of someone's life, man, that deserves a lot more. Sorry. So obviously, immediately after Aaron finds out about this, he files for divorce. He's like, basically, it's a procedure thing, right? Procedure plus, like, you don't want to be married to somebody like that, but also, like, you got to start separating everything, like, immediately. You can't just be like, oh yeah, I'm still married. Like, you got to start proceedings now. So at first, he was like, you know what? We just have like, it's just different. It's something that they cannot correct anymore, right? You can't fix this anymore. Eventually, he amended it. He was like, all right, I need $10,000 in damages for emotional distress and for all those. I mean, imagine that $10,000 for emotional distress. Like, I feel like he could have gotten a lot. He could have added a lot more to that. You know, it is going to affect him for a while. At least I can imagine. Also for therapy, for armed security, his own safety. Right? It's just I don't know how you put a price on that, but also in court, he was mainly quiet. From the reports, he was just quiet. He would respond very short sentences until he gave his victim statement, where he broke down. He faced her and basically just said everything. Said what he was thinking. So it was a pretty rough time for Aaron. So and it's, you hear about the situation sometimes too. In other times, and it makes you wonder, like, is this a common thing? Like, really, are you that upset you want to kill your husband? Jeez, like, just get divorced, you guys. Like, come on. Like, I think it's better that way. I don't know. Plus, I don't know what she was thinking. Like, do you want to be with this guy? Like, he's in jail. Like, he's gonna be in jail for life, and you're trying to kill a public figure, kind of like a celebrity in somebody who's on reality show, and he has like what, a bunch of seasons, like tens and tens of seasons of Ghost Adventures, and he's well liked. I don't know. See, this is what that level of like obsession gets you, right? It gets people killed. The whole situation is just, it's very rough. So um now, when I started, obviously digging into the whole research stuff, I found some of Aaron's posts on Instagram, and some of them he's saying thanks to his community, and how it's all the messages have been helping him out and everything, which is really cool. And actually, his last post that I checked today, I'll see if it's still his last post, but as in the most recent one, but he posted a picture of his cat, and he says, "Just you and me, buddy." Well, you know what, Aaron? It's not just you and the cat anymore. Like, it's you, the cat, and all of us here, because we support you. So I seriously hope everything gets better here. We're going to close a chapter and move forward. And I know it's going to be rough, but hopefully that's the end of it. And you take care of yourself. The message goes to Aaron here. I can't imagine going through something like that. It's just incredibly, incredibly upsetting. So, what do you think about this case? Like, let me know your thoughts about the sentencing, any updates that you might be getting from the whole situation. Keep me posted. Obviously, she has been sentenced, so this is technically a closed case. But obviously, for Aaron, it's still going to continue, because now he has to deal with all this. So now let's continue on with our podcast regular kind of programming thing that we have here. We do have some comments that we got from the last episode, which obviously super grateful for. Um, we're gonna go through some comments and see where we're at. Let's see. From our previous episode called The Voice Outside, where people submitted their own true scary accounts. We have our comments here. I think everything got approved. I think the only, by the way, right now, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, I'm reading the comments on Spotify. And let's see. Oh, I mentioned Yoda in the last episode. Yoda says, please do a live. I'll comment more, but I've been listening on Apple Podcasts and not sure how to leave comments there. I'm so sorry. You don't need to worry, Yoda. Yeah, I happened to mention Yoda last time because I forgot what it was. Was it like, oh, we used to see Yoda around a lot, now we don't? But no, Yoda's still here, and that's awesome. But yeah, like I mentioned, the comments on Spotify, we can actually leave comments. On Apple Podcasts, I don't think you can. I think you can only leave reviews. Which try leaving a review, please. We don't have that many. And 5 stars. 5 stars will help out a lot. Maria says, "Hi, thanks for sharing my story. Made my day. LOL, when you were talking about the movies, I was thinking how cool it would be if your stories were made into a movie. You have some of the best scary stories I've heard. It would be really cool." Thanks a lot, Maria. Like, you know what? It would be super cool to have a movie made with one of the stories. That's right. And that'd be super cool. I don't know how you make a movie though. But let me know. By the way, I believe Maria's talking about Scary Story Podcast, which are the stories that I write. Let me know what story you think should make it into a movie. Like, if you have an idea, we can probably start from there. Everything's possible here. Everything's possible, you guys. Can Riguez says, when I heard the announcement at the end of the latest True Scary Stories episode of a new podcast you were hosting, it made my morning. I enjoy your podcast, Edwins. You have a gift of storytelling. Dang, you guys are super nice. Thanks so much, Ken Riguez. Keep up the great work. Also, it's also awesome to be able to watch episodes of Paranormal Club and put a face to the voice that I've been listening to for over a year. Over a year, that's a long time. In like internet time, that's a long time. And yeah, this is my face. Thank you. Sorry, I apologize. Just kidding. But yeah, this is me. This is me on video here. And then Kaya says, very interesting episode. Was amazing. I'm glad you're feeling better. Yeah, I was sick in the last episode. Yeah, you could probably hear the difference now. Like, it was terrible. But it went away. Now I'm not as nasally anymore. On the question that you asked, I think it's completely reasonable to cut off family if they have caused you abuse. You should be prioritizing yourself, and sometimes it's better to not have that negative energy in your life. And also, thank you for reading my comments. I'm excited to share my experiences with you soon. Yeah, I hope you do. I hope you share them. I already sent you a link, K, K20. Hopefully we can get you on and talk some scary stories. There is here where you mentioned it's reasonable to cut off family is because in the last episode I mentioned, is it okay to cut off family if they've harmed you? Like, as in, we were talking about, I guess one of the stories was about like witchcraft specifically, but witchcraft comes from like envy and like all these things. Like, why would you want to hurt somebody? Is it okay to just be like, yeah, I don't want to be a part of your life anymore. Like, I want to go away. Like, you're hurting me. I believe so too. Like, I think you have to watch out for yourself. And yeah, sometimes your family can become your worst enemies, as we heard here with Aaron's experiences, right? Like Aaron and then his wife. Like, imagine that. Sometimes it's not even a ghost or witchcraft. Sometimes it's a real life person that sleeps next to you. Scary. I don't want to make you guys paranoid, but geez. Campy says, I like the name. Campy's Porn Shack says, I had to look at the photo for 10 milliseconds. Oh, this is a photo I shared with that was shared with me on the last episode about the boy underneath the staircase. Had to look at the photo for 10 milliseconds from various angles and zooms before I could discern the boy's face. I don't want to know what kind of liquid people put in hotel room coffee makers. There was a comment that Michelle made in our podcast that we used to have about why we don't use coffee machines or the coffee makers. Regarding abusive family members, it's okay for survival and mental health to avoid or completely cut ties with any family that causes you harm. The abuser has an obligation to stop the abuse and atone for the harm they've done. The abused person is under no obligation to make the first move or do all or any of that work. And this is where I commented, like, I agree with that. That's actually made a lot of sense to me. I hadn't never thought of it that way. But the victim is not obligated to make the first move or to fix things. It's not your job. You're the victim here. It makes sense. Blanca says, I agree. The Haunted Hill House is good. I love the show where we can interact. Yeah, right? It's cool. I like this. Even if we have to get through, like, eventually, hopefully we don't get, like, flooded with comments. I mean, I kind of wish for that, but, like, I really like being able to respond to comments because we have like enough, like, we have comments to reply to, and we can actually take the time to do that. That's really cool. Thanks for that, Blanca. Rochin Shedded says, it depends, Edwin. It depends on what the family member did and whether forgiveness is for our salvation and peace of mind or for other reasons. That's very wise. That's a very, very wise way to put it too. It's if it's for that, then it's totally fine, right? If it's gonna help us and help us find peace, then we should do that. See, that I'm getting more and more convinced with this is totally fine. And a lot of us might be going through something like that, where it's like, it might not be necessarily a witchcraft thing that we're going through with our family, but, like, what if they're hurting you in other ways? Like, you shouldn't feel obligated to, to keep them a part of you if you can help it. I don't know. Natalia says, thank you for this new podcast. It is good. I am glad people are sharing the stories. All should be shared. I agree. You know what? I actually think that stories in general, if we don't share them and we take them to the grave, just to put it as morbidly as I can, they will die. The stories will die. And the only reason why they carry on and they continue is because we share them. Think of the stories that are super, super old that we're still talking about to this day. It's because they were shared. Right? So we have to find a way to share them. Jeannie Lewis says, Edwin, you're back. Yay, great episode. Love this community you've built. I already dove into some recs from the comments section. Solid stuff. I believe this person, Jeannie, let me see, is talking about the movies, right? The movie recommendations and shows and stuff. To answer your question, I did like Midnight Mass. To be honest, I'd watch anything Flanagan creates. And I'm totally in for a good slow burn, especially when it's done right. When the unraveling part keeps unraveling and the plot twists keep on twisting, they're usually worth the wait. I love stories that just unravel very slowly. I think those are my favorite kinds of movies and stories. As you can tell, the stories that I write are I always try to slow them down. And the only reason why I speed them up or put an ending to them or make them as dramatic as people, and make them dramatic is because people ask me for that. As in, they say, I like your stories, but I wish they had an ending. Or I like this, but it was not scary enough. And I'm like, or they want a monster in it, or they want a creature from the woods in it. And I'm like, yeah, we can try that. And it is it's eerie. But I always like the idea of, oh, you don't know what's going to happen. Like, ooh, it's that bizarre, what happened, that mystery, that lingering kind of story. That's what I like. But if you know other styles, like movies or shows that are kind of like that, very slow burns. Like, what is that? I'm the Pretty Little Thing that lives in the, what is that? That show. I know some of you are frustrated because you know what I'm talking about, and I'm not going to finish it because I just remembered. Let me know what it is though. Still, if you know. And then let me see. Anything for Mooney says, another great episode. Can't wait till next Monday. Also, thanks for reading my comment. You're welcome. Thanks for leaving comments. I appreciate comments. I like comments a lot. So that is it for the comments on Spotify. We might dive into some of the ones from YouTube next. I don't think we get that many comments on YouTube. But wherever you can reach me, whether that's email, DM, just let me know what you thought of the latest episode. Light went out. Anywho, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching or listening. I'll be back next Monday. If you're tapping the follow button, you can expect me next Monday. That's all. Thank you so much for listening and for watching. Keep it scary, everyone. See you soon.